CBS 46 News presents Public Affairs on Peach.
Calling all procrastinators. Time is running out to file your 2013 taxes. There are just a few days left, and we want to make sure you have all the information you need. Good Sunday morning to you. I'm Adam Murphy, consumer investigative reporter for CBS 46. Well, it's tax time, and if you have put off filing until the last minute, and I'm sure some of you have, we are here to help you get it done. Joining me now is James Robertson. He is a tax professional with the H&R Block. Thank you so much. Also, an enrolled agent. Thank you for being on the program.
Thank you.
So, James, the big question is, if you're waiting till the last minute, how do you get started?
Well, the most important thing is to get the documents together, get as much information together as you can to file an accurate tax return. And for those who can't get everything together to file an accurate tax return, the next best thing is to file an extension.
And so how do you go about the extension process if you decide I need a little more time?
Well, there's several ways you can do that. You can go to irs.gov and download the forms, the extension forms. You can go through tax software, or you can go to H&R Block, of course, and we can do an extension for you.
So one thing that comes to mind is that many folks that do this have inaccuracies on their paperwork. And from my understanding, and tell me if this is true, that half of Americans that prepare their tax returns themselves actually have inaccuracies in them?
H&R Block did a study last year, and it did determine that 50% of the people that do tax returns themselves, there was an inaccuracy in it. And of those 50%, about 20% of them shorted themselves by not getting back the refund in which they were entitled to.
And what inaccuracies do you see most often?
Well, most often is a difference in the information that's reported to the IRS third party and the information that's reported on the tax return. Also, there are a lot of problems with taking advantage of all the credits that are needed. Another big area is with the way the economy's been for the past few years. There are a lot of people who have had a child move back in with them, or a parent move back in with them, and a lot of people think that if their child is under 19 and that they can claim them as a dependent. If they're between 19 and 24 and a full-time student, they can claim them as a dependent, but they can still continue to claim that child as a dependent as long as their income is less than $3,900.
Now, one thing that people may not consider when they're doing this is the family-friendly tax breaks that are available. Can you discuss some of those?
Sure. For children that are under 17, there's a child tax credit, which is $1,000 per child. There's also the additional exemption for children. There's if you have children in daycare, there's a credit for children in daycare. So there are a lot of options out there. Then also for low and moderate income people, one of the big ones, the Earned Income Tax Credit, which can create a refundable credit. Also for children in college, there's either the American Opportunity Credit, the Lifetime Learning Credit, or the tuition and fees deduction. So there's several different ones, and it really depends on the particular situation on your tax return.
So besides just these breaks that you talked about, and it's a lot of information to digest all at once, if people don't consult a tax professional like yourself to find out about these, how do they get this information when they're doing this at the last minute? Can you find this like on irs.gov or other websites like hrblock.com?
Absolutely. You can find almost everything at irs.gov. You can also find it at H&R Block. Most of the tax software helps you through those processes. H&R Block has it as an at-home tax software product also. But one of my concerns is, if your job is not keeping up with the tax law on a full-time basis, there may be some things that you may not know. And the definition of something for tax code is not necessarily the ordinary definition that you might think, such as a child. You think of your child as just your children, but in tax law, a child can be either a child, a foster child, a stepchild, or any downward lineal descendant. So you could be claiming a grandparent could be claiming a grandchild.
Interesting, and may not even know that they can do that unless they learn about this or research it. And there is some research that can be done at the last minute, even if you are waiting till the 11th hour to get all of this done. And that's why we're talking about some of this today. Let's go back to the minor mistakes that you often see on returns. What about things like simple math errors? Do those occur often on tax returns?
They do, and especially if someone's attempting to do it in pen and paper. I've been doing tax returns for a long time, and I really still wouldn't like to do one by pen and paper. Even for retired individuals, doing one on pen and paper, I wouldn't recommend it, because the calculations to determine how much Social Security falls to the taxable side is not an easy calculation. And software does things like that very well. Your tax professionals do those things very well also. And
I understand too, like miss or incorrect Social Security numbers happens and can delay this process.
Oh, absolutely.
You're hurting yourself essentially by not double checking or triple checking the information you have on these forms. So how much of a delay could it lead to if you make one of these errors?
Well, it could be a significant delay if the Social Security number, the birth date, and the name do not match the Social Security records. Then the return will be rejected from electronic filing. And then it ultimately, if that can't be corrected, may have to be mailed in, and then that would cause a significant delay.
James Robertson with the H&R Block, thank you so much. Great advice. Thanks for being on the program. You'll be back here latter half of the half hour to talk a little bit more about some of this stuff. Yes, and when we come back, there you see the information, of course, for H&R Block, but when we come back, we are talking to the IRS. They have some last-minute tax tips that will benefit you. Come back on Public Affairs on Peach right after the break.